Hey guys, my guest tonight is LVN Caren Clarke, and we're going to be talking about the opioid crisis and how it's affecting patients. See you in about 5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to California Haunts Radio. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you have a paranormal need, we can get to you because we got people all over the state. But sometimes it might take us a while because it's a big state, right? And if it's going to take us longer than a couple of days, I have mediums like Caren Caren, who's going to be on the show. I have mediums like Caren Caren on staff who can call you and in most cases calm things down for you until we can get out there. All right, that being said, if you're watching from Facebook tonight, please be sure to hit those like buttons and those thumbs up buttons if you like what you hear. Same thing with YouTube and Twitter or any place else you might be listening from. Also on Facebook, if you haven't done so already, follow us because we have a lot of shows we're doing. We're doing Sunday through Friday shows, and we got a lot of content out there. There's more than 641 shows out there from the last 3 years that we've done. In fact, we're on our 209th show tonight for this season 3. So yeah, so check us out. Same thing for YouTube. If you haven't done so already and you like what you hear and see tonight or any other night, go ahead and subscribe to the California Haunts YouTube channel because we're always looking for subscribers. And you'll find over there that I have started to categorize all 600 and some change shows into different folders so that you guys can find it easier. Okay, so if there's a topic you want to go over, like religion or maybe UFOs and abductions and things like that, you can find the proper file, click on it, and then all the guests for that particular topic is there. All right. Okay, I'm doing a quick intro here before I bring Caren on, and we did a show on pain management and stuff. 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I didn't intend to do another show. I wasn't gonna. I think I was gonna leave it at that for a while. But my last pain management appointment last week that I had really changed my mind because the way they treated me and the way it was handled. So I decided that there's a lot of people out there that really don't know what's going on with pain patients from their perspective, and it's sad because I read a lot of articles online in favor of rights for pain people that are in pain, and I see a lot of comments about people calling people drug addict. You see, drug addicts. Sorry about that. And there's a lot of name calling, drug addicts, addictive. All you hear is addiction, drug addicts, all this stuff. The problem with all that is that not everybody is addicted. Not everybody's a drug addict. Okay, that's where the misnomer is, and that's what's sad about what the mainstream media is putting out there. Some of the mainstream media is okay with it and understands what's going on. There are reporters that know what's going on, but there's also the other half of the mainstream media that is going to print this stuff like with the new CDC guidelines that just came out. They're going to print stuff saying, oh, how they're more positive towards people that are pain patients, but they're not. There's little tweaky things in there, but really there's no changes. The CDC I think went in trying to make it more clear for doctors for the regulations, but instead of doing that, they really didn't tweak enough to help the pain patient. Caren Caren, my guest tonight, has been on my team for probably 15 years, my paranormal team, and she's had an operation that didn't work out well, and so she up until this last month she's been taking a real low level painkiller, and they cut her off cold turkey. And I'm going to have her tell you her story when she gets on about what's been happening because I talk to her every day to see how she's doing. And it was sad because at the time when she told me what was happening, when she couldn't get a hold of her doctor to get her prescription, and they were sending her in circles, I knew right away what was going on because I'd heard so many stories and read so many stories about this stuff, and it was ridiculous what they did to her. I'm probably going to be going through the same thing. After my appointment last week, I get the impression that I'm about to go into the fight for my life right now. The fight for me being able to get up in the morning and mow my lawn or clean my floors or vacuum or pick things up off the ground or anything like that. Work in my yard. I'm about to enter the fight for my life, and we'll get into that a little more. But that is what between Karen's situation and all the other situations out there, and what happened to me last week, I have decided I will make this a monthly program. And if it expands out of a monthly program, we'll do it twice a month. But I want to get the word out. That's what I'm here to do. It's my job. I'm a semi-retired newspaper reporter, editor, and watching this happen around me, it kills me. You know, and I'm not one of those people that if I wasn't in pain, I would still be advocating for these poor people because I've seen my father. My father had 2 hip replacements. He was in pain all the time. And I can't imagine if in his 80s they turned around and started taking away his pain meds. So I would have been in this spot anyway. But this is my way of getting the word out. And maybe, I'm going to try and get more active too in these sessions that I can go online with Zoom and everything to get my input in with these doctors and all these big muckety mucks that are making these rules. But I'm going to be very open with you guys from here on in. I'm going to have you go through my pain journey with me from here on in. Okay. I'm due for an MRI, which I can't afford. Of course, it's $150. I got to do it. But I'm going to do that, and then we're going to take it from there with the pain management. I'm going to try and get permission to interview my pain management doctors while I'm in the office. I don't know if I'll get to do that. We'll find out. Okay. But I'm going to take you guys on this journey with me and see how things happen. 2 years ago, or a year ago, something like that, I lose track of time. And I'll get into what was upsetting about them doing this. They decided to cut me back by 1 pain pill a day. I take 3. I'm not going to say what I take, but I take 3. 1 for the morning, 1 for mid afternoon, and 1 helped me sleep because the pain if I roll over or something, the pain's intense on my lower back. And I'll get into what's going on with my back once Caren gets on the air. But I couldn't do it. I could not make it through the day. I found myself taking 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening because obviously I had to sleep. So I would skip the midday one, and that's when people are busiest. When I was a beat reporter and I'm trying to walk around different places and stuff, I couldn't do it. It was just no. So I had to go back and complain, and I got that 3rd pill back. Okay, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about my dosage, and we're going to talk about what the CDC is putting out, what doctors are doing, and where I'm at with my dosage, which really irritates me, which I find really not so. What's irritating at the same time, I find it unbelievable. Okay, all right. Let me get Caren on, and then we'll start from there because I want Caren to talk to you and give you an update on what's been going on with her since she was cut off. So let me get Caren on. It's a phone interview. You guys know that. So here we go. Let me find her. There she is right there. Okay, see if I can get her. Excuse my stomach. I have issues with that too. Hello, let me get you over there, okay? Give me a second. Caren Clarke, kids. Hang on 1 second. Okay, let me get this set so we don't get any playback. Okay, yeah, I gotta do some adjustments with the mic here too. Okay, that should do it. What I found I have to do, because this mic is now in a different position, that should work. That when I can do phone calls, I have to fix it so that you can't hear who's on. It doesn't have any throwback. Oh, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, so what I had to do is I have to put you in a box.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on. I have to put you in a box because the new position.
Hi.
With my great little desk that you guys got me or gave me, my regular mic's in a different position. So what it does is that when I have the phone, like I used to set the phone over on the table on the side with another mic pointing down at it.
Uh-huh.
This mic can pick up the phone now, so I have to put you in a box.
Okay.
I have to devise a box.
That wouldn't be the last time or the first time somebody put me in a box.
I was telling them about you going cold turkey like you did. And I was hoping you could give an update to people because I know it's a very private thing, but I mean, this has to be said. The agony that people that are getting pulled off these things are going through.
Well, yeah, if my suffering can bring anybody some answers or support, then at least it has a silver lining to it, you know. Yeah, what happened is I guess I'll quickly recap.
Sure.
12 years ago, I had a tumor that turned out to be a rare disease called Castleman's disease, and I had a resection, a mesentery resection done, partly bowel resection, and a radical hysterectomy all in one surgery. So, needless to say, it gutted me out pretty bad. The doctor saved my life, but at the same time, the surgery didn't go so well, and it caused extreme pain for years and years. And on top of that, I was misdiagnosed for GI things, and it turns out I have a rare congenital disease called crises. Don't even ask me how to say the name. It's I can't metabolize sugar or a lot of sugars or other. It's not celiac, but it's crazy. So on top of all that, everything gave me pain. So I was dealing with chronic pain for a big chunk of my life before I had this diagnosis, and then after the surgery, it caused even more additional pain. And I won't get into the heavy details of all of it.
Right.
But, so I saw a doctor, my primary care doctor at the time, and he didn't really know what to do. So I got a fantastic primary care doctor who is my doctor today. And I really lucked out finding him. And I saw a psychologist and a psychiatrist because right around the time I had the surgeries, my 40-year-old sister committed suicide in a very violent way, and I lost my cousin to suicide as well. So it was like all this major stress on top of this, you know, physical stuff going on with me. So the reason why I'm saying all this is that my point is that I was really, I had a great team of doctors overlooking my care. And it wasn't like I was out doing street drugs. I was really under the advisement of top professionals. And with that, I was on a dose of opiates to help control my pain so I could have a better quality of life. And I took it for years. And the stigma that came around it, especially when I would have to go back to the hospital, because I had a lot of problems post-surgery. For years, I had ileuses and near obstructions. Actually, I did obstruct once. I had because of all the problems I had, it caused an emergency. I had 2 ventral hernias that became strangulated, and I had to have surgery right away. And then that was in 19. My first surgery was in 12, and 2019 was that surgery. And those are strangulated hernias. And then they had to do a bunch of repair work as well. And so every time I would go back to the hospital, the doctor, because I had a lot of pain and suffering, you know, sometimes I would get a lot of oh, you're just a drug addict, you know, when they clearly didn't even read my history. And I'm not saying everybody, there's a lot of medical professionals that were wonderful to me, but there were those that really did label me. One time we went out of town to visit my nephew up in Eureka area, and I ended up in the emergency room because of an obstruction. And the ER doctor, I told him a little bit about my past. He didn't even really care about what my medical history was. It was, are you on any opiates? And I said, yeah. that was it. His whole mind shut down. He wouldn't listen to me, and it was horrible. And I went through that quite a few times, and I could understand where the doctors are at, because I worked as a licensed nurse for many years, and I worked in case management department as a coordinator for many years. And I get it. I get the algorithms. I get the laws and the bylaws and everything that they have to adhere to. I get it. But at the same time, being a patient on the other end, it was startling, to say the least, what I went through. It was horrifying. And then my last thing, over the last, I would say 3 years, I was weaning myself off the opiates myself, not told by any doctor, psychiatrist, or psychologist to do so. It's something I personally chose to do, but I was overlooked by my medical team. So I slowly was coming off of them because I wanted to, not because I felt a stigma to, because I was ready to. And then, so I'm on a very low dose. And then, out of the blue, it was time for Michael to pick up my standard dose at the pharmacy, and there was a big hang-up. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? So then I called my doctor's office, and then I left several messages, and it just was out of this world what was going on. It was like a complete turnaround of what I've normally experienced for years, being in compliance of taking my medications, that just one day everything shut down on me. And coincidentally, I went into withdrawals. And I can't really fault the doctor's office or my psychologist or my psychiatrist. Well, actually, my psychologist I stopped seeing, but my psychiatrist still would look after me. Like, I would have to check in with her every 4 or 5 months. And it wasn't her fault either. It was the system of how I believe the DEA came cracking down on the doctor's offices for anybody who is prescribed a Schedule I medication or medications. And coincidentally, because of this crackdown, there was all this miscommunication going on, and their hands were tied, and I could not get my prescription. And then the pharmacy would not work with me, because come to find out, a pharmacy down the road was just shut down by the DEA. Okay, and I'm talking people could not get their medications. People who have stage 4 cancer. This was told to me by my friends who are surgeons and doctors, who I have had lengthy conversations with, who are beside themselves because their hands are tied. It's become like this. I totally get and understand. We are in a opiate pandemic, crisis, epidemic, and there has to be things that change. I get it. But the way they dealt with it, the counter beings that dealt with it, is causing me and a lot of people to go through some unnecessary withdrawals. The withdrawals I went through never should have happened. I should have been tapering down the way I was, in a medically balanced way, supervised by my medical professional team that have gone to medical school and have worked in the industry for 30, 40 years and have much, but they have to follow the DEA. Their hands got tied by bureaucracy that doesn't have any medical training. And coincidentally, I ended up in the emergency room. I had a seizure. My BP, I have my baseline BP is like 100/60. My BP was like off the charts. I was tachycardia. I was throwing PVCs. Everything was going wrong because this was not handled correctly. As you can see, I get a little emotional talking about it.
It's understandable because in my situation, and like I told you guys, I'm going to take you guys on this journey with me. Now that the doctor's starting to hem-haw again, I'm going to take you guys on this journey with me. And in my situation, all right, I'm going to tell you about my back. So some people know, some people don't. Okay, I have spinal stenosis. All right, spinal stenosis is a narrowing of the spinal canal. So if I'm walking, I'm kind of like the Tin Man in Wizard of Oz. So if I'm walking, my spinal canal essentially dries up. So I have to bend forward in order to get the flow going again. And it's like the Tin Man. Otherwise, it's bone scraping on bone back in my back. I was in a car accident a few years ago. On top of all this, and I have 2 collapsed vertebrae at the base of my spine. Not to mention a bulging disc and bone spurs back there. So I have a hard time walking. But in addition to all this, I've got congestive heart failure. Now, listening to what Caren went through and doing the research on what happens when they start to take you off opiates, if they try to do this, which I'm trying to fight it right now, I would probably have a heart attack because it affects your blood pressure, it affects your heart, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to demand.
That's a great point, Charlotte, because in the emergency room, my blood pressure was so high. And like I said, my baseline is pretty low.
Yeah.
But now the doctors want me to monitor my blood pressure every day because what happens when you're in chronic pain, it does raise your blood pressure.
Yes, that's the other thing. And so, like Caren is saying, if it comes down to them trying to get me off the pills that I need so bad to walk across my floor, I'm going to have to do it probably I'm going to demand I do it in the hospital because I want to be under my medical team's care at the time. I don't want to die from a heart attack.
Well, I don't want you to die either.
And to me, it's for a person like me, it's a major risk to even consider that. But
Absolutely.
I'm trying to be, like I decided last week after that appointment, and I'll tell you what happened at my appointment. I go walking in there, and this is normally, I'm not going to say anything about the doctor. Like Caren says, the doctor's hands are tied. There's nothing, the doctors can do because the CBC is essentially, they've kind of misinterpreted the CBC suggestions in the first place. Okay, because as the CBC keeps saying, those are simply guidelines that they put out, but the doctors are taking them to be etched in stone. And I think that's a lot of the problem. Plus, you got the DEA, watching everything the doctors do. I walked in, the office was practically empty. And that's not like that office. Usually it's full of people, patients. And I was sitting there thinking, something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking up on the screen at the office, because they always have those TV screen things. Usually it's MTV. And I'm looking up at the screen, and it's all about how they're going to, what types of injections that they can give you for your back and all this. That's all it was. And I thought, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So I get called in finally, and it's a nurse practitioner. It's a new nurse practitioner from the other one. And I have my theories why the other one's no longer there, and I'm not going to say that because it's just a theory. All right, when we write. There was no, hello, how's your pain today? There was, hi, I'm here filling in for so-and-so, and yeah, we got to talk about starting you on Suboxone. And that was the whole conversation of it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll fill out your prescription, but next month we're going to have this discussion. For people that don't know it, Suboxone, and this is what gets me, Suboxone is for people that are addicted, to get them to bring them down off the pills. Okay? I get it. That whole Suboxone gig. But, like Caren says, we're not addicted. We're dependent. There's a difference. We're dependent on it for quality of life, so we can go out and do our daily tasks. We're not taking it just to sit there and watch the colors on the TV. That's not what it's not what we're doing. All right. The other thing in my case, and I did take some notes last night, so I'm going to be reading from a couple of articles. I found a nice opinion piece in USA Today. I figure those guys do their research because they're big time. I mean, I'm a reporter. Those are the papers those are the stuff we look up to, the oohs and ahs, the San Francisco Chronicle. All right. there's this thing called, let me pull it up here real quick. Give me a second. You guys know I'm blind too, so just give me a second. There's this thing they called MME. I don't know if Karen's heard of it either. But one of the CDC changes was this. Among the drastic changes was, this is out of just a website I found, was a limit for acute pain at 3 days for a new hard limitation, and a new hard limitation of 90 morphine milligram equivalents. MME for all prescriptions, okay? Substantiating an unscientific term not used by anyone but the CDC, which not only established an absurdly low dose for some patients, but insinuated that the needs for pain treatment from patient to patient are the same regardless of individual metabolism or body chemistry. Let's talk about that for a second. Okay?
Yeah.
You and I go to a party, right? Karen's a lot thinner than I am. Okay? I can, and we start drinking, of course we wouldn't because we're hurting and we're on different meds. We start drinking alcohol, right? And you guys know this from just being out in the world, okay? Heavier people are going to be able to deal with alcohol better than somebody that's thinner. And it works, but it works the same way with pain medication, depending on your size and everything. It's not a one size fits all, which is what this saying. Now, 5 tablets, and I'm not going to say, like I said, I am not going to say what I'm taking, what medication I'm on, because it's not right. But according to them, it's 90 to 80 morphine milligram equivalents. I've even heard that they want people down to 50 milligrams a day, okay, of that MME, all right? But just bear that in mind, okay? So 5 tablets of what I take would be 50 MME a day. That's way below what they want. Now, I only take 3 tablets, all right? I'm at 30 MME a day. 30. Why are they coming after me? That's one of the questions I have. I get there's regulations, but I am way, way, way below what the regulations talk about. I'm at 30.
That's a good point, Charlotte. And even if you were above regulations,
yeah,
if you have medical necessity reasons why you need them, and you are supervised by licensed professional, that like which you are,
right?
There's no reason why this needs to happen to us. It's deplorable.
And what fascinates me about the whole thing is that 3 years ago, before I had to switch pain management places because the place I was at decided they weren't going to do pills anymore, medications anymore, and they were going to go to injections. Okay, so I had a very nice nurse practitioner there who gave me a 30-day thing for pain pills so I could find somebody else. At that time, he sat me down because I had a lot of questions even then, when these guidelines came out, and I would always sit down and talk to him for about 10 minutes and say, hey, look, there's people, I see people all the time complaining that the pain limits for them are bad. And he says, to be honest, those people are taking a lot. And I said, well, what does that mean for me? He says, well, you're on the low spectrum compared to what other people take for pain management.
That's what I was told too.
And which is what Caren was. And he says, and I've looked at your X-rays, I've looked at your MRIs, and you have to have them for quality of life. And this is coming from a nurse practitioner, right, in a pain clinic. So I thought, cool, I've got it for quality of life. They're not going to mess with me. So obviously now what's going on, and here I am on the lower end at those 30 MMEs. Caren was probably lower depending on whatever she was taking. She was probably down to 10 MMEs a day, which is way low on the spectrum, right? 5 or 10 MMEs. Yeah. And I can't imagine that, as low as I am, why would they sit there and cut and start cutting me back even farther? It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all. Okay? No, I'm not here,
especially when you want your quality of life.
Right. I'm not here to complain. This is not a complaint fest. I'm just trying to get the word out as to what they're doing to people, because you don't hear this.
It has to be handled better. Like I personally, I made the choice. I'm off opiates. I've been off of them for, oh my gosh, almost 2 months. And it was hell the way like I said, the way I went through the withdrawals was so unnecessary, and it put my health in great danger. But I chose to stay off of them. But here's the thing: I would like a chance when my pain gets to like really, really high, a PRN. But I don't even have that luxury anymore. Once
Right.
you're off, that's it. They
Yeah.
won't ever give them to you
You're
again.
not going to get them again, no
And
matter
there's
what.
those days where I am so like really, I do my meditation, I do my music therapy, I do my medicinal medications, I do my, you know, all of my techniques,
Mhm.
my TIMS units and all my techniques, my therapy and all that. And sometimes I still just is not enough
Right.
to get the pain down. So I wish I had that choice if I could take a PRN once in a while, but I don't.
Mhm.
But just because I chose to stay off of them
Yeah.
does not mean that I am on the camp side that says that, you know what, I did it. How come you can't do it? And you're you don't.
Right.
No.
Right.
I will be an advocate for the rest of my life for people that need to take them for good quality when they are supervised and they have real medical reasons why they need them, and their quality of life is truly suffering. To me, that's just there has to be a big change. And I know, Charlotte, you've done a lot of research. I've done some, but you've done a lot more than me. That you've really dug deep into, you know, groups that advocate for it and, you know, changes that need to be. I won't even get into politics.
Well, I found this article.
There needs to be changes, definitely.
I found this opinion piece by Peter. I hope I say his name right. Pishke. If I said your name right, sir, I'm sorry. January 23rd, 2003 article talking about because all the complaining that the patients did, like I said, the CDC decided to make changes to the guidelines. But unfortunately, even though they made the changes, nothing much has changed about it. So I'm going to read some excerpts from this news piece. Okay, first off, he says the CDC emphasizes that its guidelines should never be used for an inflexible, rigid standard of care and patient abandonment. The problem is that's what it's being used for. They're abandoning patients. They're inflexible,
right.
the rigid standard of care. But that's what they've done. So no matter what the CDC says, this is what they've done. Okay. He says then there's the fine print. Okay, we talked about the MMEs, right? All right, we're going down. This says potentially, and this is the same article. Potentially millions of patients have been abandoned when you consider that 1 in 5 Americans suffer from chronic pain, and in 2019, up to 8 million of them relief on opioid. Okay, yeah, and in 2019 there were 8 million people taking opioids for long-term therapy. I have been taking opioids for 13 years. Okay, I've been on the same dose. I've never varied. Same dose. My pain levels run about a 4, 5 every day. All right, because you know what? To be honest, when you take when you take excuse my mouth. When you take pain medication, they're not designed to take all your pain away. They're designed to take the pain away enough so that you can function. That's what pain medication do. All right. So mine takes it away just enough so I can function. I still have bad days every once in a while, but I still function. All right. Now he goes ahead and
you function very well.
He goes ahead and he does some little asterisk points, and he says a 2020 study from the National Cancer Institute found a 21% decrease in opioid prescriptions from oncologists. Oncologists, these are people with cancer.
I know.
That are not getting their opioids. Okay, a study.
End-stage cancer.
End-stage, yeah.
Right, yeah.
A study in the Journal of Pain and Symptom Management found that hospice patients who had an opioid prescription when discharged dropped from 91% in 2010 to only 79% in 2018.
I used to work in hospice. I took care of hospice patients, and I'm speechless.
Yeah. And he goes on. It gets better. Other research, like last year's study, make sure my mouse isn't working, of course. Okay, other research, like last year's study from the Journal of Clinical Oncology, shockingly found that the number of opioids prescribed per dissident on Medicare declined 38%, while the number of ER visits for these patients increased to over 50%.
Yeah.
And
And
here's
they wonder why the ER is so clogged.
yeah. And here's a quote: law enforcement agencies, especially the Drug Enforcement Administration, are out of control, with the DEA routinely caught releasing safety plans for the patients of arrested physicians that simply direct pain patients to the nearest emergency room. Well, guess what, kids? If you go to the nearest emergency room, they're not going to help you.
No.
Period.
No. In fact, my sister's an RN, and I think, Kathy, if you're listening, I hope I'm quoting you right. I think even if, like, you have a broken bone, they won't give you opiates anymore.
No.
I think one of the only things they'll give it to you if you come out of major surgery.
Mm-hmm. And they won't even do that. In fact, I'm hearing a lot of stories. I'm reading about a lot of stories. I follow the Pain Network newspaper or newsletter online. There's a group of people that are actually putting on a newsletter about all this. And I'm finding out the more I research in is that people who are having major surgery are being sent home with Tylenol.
Are you serious?
Yep. There was one lady I read about who had, I forget what it was, pancreatic surgery or something major, kidney surgery, something, where they cut her open and it moves stuff around. Oh, Whipple.
Oh my God.
She had a Whipple, and they sent her home with little to no pain medication at all. I mean, that's what's going on. All right. Now, there's something I wanted to point out, and I'm not trying to cut anybody ribbons. Channel 13 here in Sacramento has been following some pain patients in their struggle with this stuff that's going on. So I happened to watch the other night. It was doing really well, where they were talking about how they're trying to deal with not having enough medication or not having any medication.
Yeah.
The last gentleman they had on, what was how they were closing the story down, was saying that he was completely off his opiates. And he felt great. And I don't know if that's the effect of, because after a while, you get used to the pain.
Right.
Because I know before I was on the pill, I didn't know what it was like to not live in pain.
There's like this new research that one of my friends is a doctor, and he was telling me there's this new research that opiates sometimes can have like a rebound effect, a boomerang effect, where they don't really help your pain. Okay, that might be true with some people, but it's not all that it can. It doesn't mean that it applies or it's applicable to everybody. But what really, you have to go by case basis,
right.
And it's between the doctor and the patient.
Right. Right.
Not everything is just put in, like you said. You said you're going to put me in a box.
Yeah.
I think that's funny because not all of this needs to be put into one box.
Right.
Everybody's case is individualized and different. But yet you walk into a pain clinic or a lot of doctors' offices, and it's all about like, oh, you take opiates? Oh, well, you need to get off of them.
Yeah.
Without even looking at your health history, without even having conversations with other healthcare people on your team, without even having the decency of talking to the patient to find out what truly their quality of life is, without talking to their psychiatrist or psychologist to see where they're on the spectrum scale of, of their stress levels.
Right.
And that all of this needs to be taken into account.
Right. It does. Everything.
But it's not.
No, it's not. And this gentleman that they ended the story with, like I said, Channel 13 did great up until that point because he was really marvelous until the very end. And the gentleman says, "Well, I haven't been on them. I still have some pain, but I'm on Suboxone." Well, Suboxone, which is the go-to with these doctors. Suboxone is for drug addicts. Suboxone is to bring people down off the pills. That's all it is. It's not a painkiller. It's to bring people down off the pills. And I did some extra research on drugs.com. So here we go.
It definitely has its use and it has its benefit. But again, it goes case by case basis.
Right. So Suboxone.
Not everybody on opiates should be put on it.
Right. So here we go. So drugs.com. Suboxone is sometimes used off-label by doctors to help with acute and chronic pain in certain patients. Off-label use of a drug refers to when a doctor prescribes a medicine for a different purpose than those formally approved by the FDA and found in the package labeling. Suboxone, which comes through several names, um, buprenorphine, I hope I said that right, and naloxone. Sublingual film is not approved by the FDA for use. Now this is where it gets to be a kicker. Okay, Suboxone and the other names it's under, okay, are not approved by the FDA to use as pain medication. Suboxone is only approved to treat, and here's where the kicker is. All right, and they're trying to give us all Suboxone. Suboxone is only approved to treat narcotic opiate addiction, opioid use disorder. Only single-agent buprenorphine without naloxone is approved for pain, which is what they were talking about for me. And I still don't believe that, okay? Because that buprenorphine now, I did research on that, and that's still an opiate, Caren.
I know.
And then they're moving people to that. And that's the one that they keep telling me makes the pain even better when you have like all this stuff wrong with me, and I'm like, okay. So the instructions are, you follow the doctor's instructions for Suboxone use exactly. Do not use Suboxone for pain unless your doctor has specifically provided for this use. Do not adjust your doses. There have been reports of deaths in people who are not using opioid naive patients who used a 2 milligrams sublingual buprenorphine dose to gain relief. In other words, people are trying to gain relief with these lower powered pills, and they're overdosing. That's what's going on, and yeah, okay. Oh, there you are. You're still on there. Good.
No,
I know people were. I didn't know if people were staring at my face while I was reading or what. This is what's going on. I mean, it's like they're peddling this stuff out as pain control, and it's not. Suboxone is for addicts to come down off the opioids. That's the bottom line. And when I'm sitting there at the doctor's office and she says, well, we're going to have to start talking about Suboxone. Why?
Well,
I'm not.
It could also be used for people that are dependent on opiates.
Right.
Again, that stigma.
Yeah.
That stigma of being on an opiate, and even people that are addicted to it should not be stigmatized either. Maybe they have they should be treated, right.
Right.
I mean, it's it's a mixed bag, and there's a lot of variables involved. But people, whether you're addicted or you're dependent, you should still be treated like a decent human being.
Right. And guys, I'm not a doctor, okay? I'm not saying this is medical.
I'm not a doctor either.
No, Karen's an LVN.
I'm truly speaking from the patient.
Right. And that's what we're doing. We're looking from the patient. That's why I decided to start researching and pull articles up so you guys can get more informed. In fact, I'll make some announcements about this session too, because I'm expanding it out, because I'm going to try and get some doctors on here, some pain management doctors on to talk to us as well. So I'm trying, I'm looking to expand this whole show out. So the next section I have for you is from the San Francisco Chronicle, from a March 14th article by Caren Caren. And the headline reads, How a Crackdown on Opioids is Leaving Patients in Agonizing Pain. Caren, what are your pain levels like at night?
My pain levels? Oh, I would say my baseline is 5 always. Mm-hmm. It has been for 12 years. And I usually spike up to 8 or 9 a night.
Wow. And that's out of 10, folks. 8 or 9 is her pain level at night.
Sometimes, and Michael and I joke around, and he always knows when I'm in pain, because he says I get really funny when I'm like a comedian when I'm in pain.
Right.
Because that's how I deal with it.
Right.
I try to be funny.
So here,
I try to deal with that. I try to deal with everything with humor.
Yeah.
And I'm not the best. Michael's a comic. He's the comic in the family. I'm not so good at comedy, but he always says, "I know when you're really in pain because you try to be funny." And you're funny when you don't try to be funny, but that's how I try to deal with my pain, because if you don't, you'll go crazy.
Right. Now, from this article,
you'll go crazy.
Yeah, you have to do something to laugh at it.
But I'm not laughing at people I'm not laughing at the situation. at all. This
Right.
situation needs to be taken seriously.
Oh, absolutely. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, in the San Francisco Chronicle, Carol said, quotes a couple doctors here, Dr. Sean Murphy, or Mackey, I'm sorry, my bad. Dr. Sean Mackey, who's chief of the Division of Pain Medicine at Stanford, has a quote in here. And he says it's very clear that some of the unintended consequences of these prescriptive opioid policies ended up harming patients who were taking opioids appropriately for legitimate circumstances and were experiencing reductions in pain and improvements to life and physical functioning. Here's a doctor at Stanford saying how it's affected people. So the doctors are aware of what's going on too. It's sad. The whole thing is sad.
Yeah, it is.
At least 50 Americans, and this is continuing the article, at least 50 Americans live with chronic pain, according to the Centers of Disease Control, while millions more have temporary pain after surgeries or accidents. Okay, about 5 million to 8 million rely on opioid medication to deal with the pain. Okay, but after years in which doctors overprescribed opioids and some patients ended up hooked on painkillers, the U.S. has drastically limited prescription opioids in several ways. All right, here we go. I'm going to enlarge this a little bit because I'm blind. Okay. And this is from a San Francisco Chronicle article. The CDC issued new opioid guidelines in 2016 that capped the amounts doctors could prescribe. The agency itself now recognizes that misapplication of its guidelines has resulted in harm to patients. CDC spokesperson Courtney Leonard wrote in an email to the Chronicle, citing patients having their opioid treatment abruptly discontinued or rapidly tapered among those harms. State legislatures and state medical boards passed their own laws and regulations enshrining the CDC's lower limits. So the states, of course, will go by what the CDC says because they're doctors, right? Technically, they're doctors. So the states have passed laws that incorporate all these regulations into laws, which just makes you want to puke because, I mean, it's just hurting people. The DEA, which oversees the manufacture of controlled substances, lowered quotas for annual production of opioids. Since 2013, it's reduced the supply of oxycodone by 65% and that of hydrocodone by 73%. So there's a shortage for patients too now because they've done this, right? The DEA and other law enforcement agencies rated. Now, this is what doctors are afraid of. Okay, this is what Karen's saying is the doctors' hands are pretty much tied because they're so afraid of government, right? Still in the Chronicle. The DEA and other law enforcement agencies.
And pharmacies, too.
Oh, yeah, that too. Rated doctors who wrote too many prescriptions above CDC threshold. Some doctors were hit with fines, license removal, seizure of assets, and prison sentences. Meanwhile, their patients were cut off from their meds. All right. Last point. Federal, state, and local governments and pharmaceutical companies and drugstores, including Walmart, Rite Aid, Walgreens, and CVS. Okay. Most cases have been settled, often for billions of dollars, along with agreements to further rein in opioid production and add extra scrutiny to prescriptions. It's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah. I know.
Well, annual opioid prescriptions nationwide fell 44% from 2012 to 2020, according to CDC data.
How do we solve it? Oh my gosh,
yeah.
That would be like 10 shows that we would have to do. And
oh
I'm
God,
not a
yeah.
politician, but all I know is that if we can advocate from our end as patients, what we've gone through.
Oh yeah, that's all we can do. And here's this one too. While annual opioid prescription nationwide fell 44% from 2012 to 2020. According to CDC data, drug overdose from prescription opioids barely budged, going from 17,029 in 2017 to 16,706 in 2021, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse Analysis for the CDC data. You know, the overdoses, and I mean, yeah, granted there are overdoses, okay, but it's not, the majority of them aren't coming from the people with prescriptions.
Right. That's
exactly the long-term people like Caren and I that have been on this stuff for a while, we take everything that's prescribed. Okay, we're not varying off of that. That's why I find going in to do my urine test, and when they call me in for pill counts, I just find it so insulting.
And because it's so mismanaged, there is the factor that people are now going to the streets.
Right. Right.
They should take this off the streets. Now people, not all,
Right.
probably very, less. But and then there's a component that the suicide rate has gone up.
Yes.
Too.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I don't want to get too dark into that.
Well, I don't either, but the problem is
it's a true factor. It's something that is truly happening.
Well, yeah, it is, because
especially with the elderly.
Yes.
That are alone. They don't have family to advocate for them. The hospitals are exhausted. Nurses are exhausted. Doctors are exhausted. They're so limited what they can do. They're allowed like 7 minutes per visit.
Mm-hmm.
And these elderly people are stuck with nothing, and they don't want to live with the pain anymore.
Right, exactly. We really
need help in that part too.
When I think back to what my life was like,
and not just elderly, I'm all ages,
everybody, yeah. When I think back to my 11, 13 years, what it was like for me without them, I don't want to go back there. I wouldn't do anything desperate to killing myself, but I really don't want to go back there. The doctors have no clue what my life was like. I used to, as a newspaper reporter, I used to have to walk distances to cover stories, and do this, do that. And I remember one particular story for the Christmas parade, and I had to walk through Main Street on Placerville, up and down Main Street. It was so bad that I couldn't even, I could barely walk. And there were people that I didn't even know that saw me.
Yeah.
That were putting out.
You learn to hide it, don't you, Charlotte?
Yeah. And
you learn to hide your pain.
And they were putting out lawn chairs for me so I could sit down, because I looked like I was in such agony. In fact, one of them said, well, why does the newspaper have you out here if you're in this kind of agony? I didn't want to lose my job. So, of course, I'm not going to tell the paper that I can't function. So right. I don't want to go back to that. Common things like mowing my lawn, vacuuming my carpets, mopping my floors, I can't do without the medication. I have to have the medication to do it. Otherwise, it'll take me hours. Have anybody
to depend on.
Yeah, and it'll take me hours to do it, because I have to sit down every few minutes because the pain's so intense. That's what they're for, is to keep me functioning in life. So here's a continuation of the Chronicle article where she says, meanwhile, drug overdoses from the synthetic opioid fentanyl soared from 28,466 in 2017 to 70,601 in 2021, according to the same data. Illegal street fentanyl increasing potent and lethal, right? Increasing is the main culprit. Yeah, it's not the prescription opioids, guys. It's the stuff on the street that keeps running the numbers up. But they've lumped everybody under the same umbrella. Okay?
And I think truly what happened is that a lot of doctors that shouldn't have been prescribing them overprescribed them.
Right.
And with all of the social injustices going on in our life, people are resorting to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
There should, we need to learn how to, learn how to deal with our stress better.
Right.
But there's not a whole lot of options for people to learn how to do that.
And the sad thing is, too, is the people that they're pulling off, these longtime users like myself and Caren, that are dependent on this stuff that they're pulling off, they're having to go buy it on the street. And that's a lot of these. That's a lot of these overdose deaths you hear.
I wouldn't say the majority.
No, but there's a good chunk of them that are going out to get on the street because they're so desperate to have their pain taken care of.
And then you truly have people that really do have addiction problems.
Yes. Yeah, and then there's that.
And they're kind of in a different, but they, again, should not be treated like dirt.
No, they shouldn't. It's not right. So as this thing continues, the policy assumption was that if you cut access to medical supply of prescription opioids, overdoses would go down, said Kate Nicholson, executive director of the National Pain Advocacy Center, which advocates for the rights of people living in pain. Actually, they've doubled, because the response of the market has been to go to illicit fentanyl, which is more dangerous, which is what's happening. Okay, now we continue. Now things have been done, but the problem is the states have yet to do anything about the stuff that has already been passed. Rhode Island, if you have pain like this, Rhode Island is the state to watch because that's where a lot of the changes are taking place.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Rhode Island is
I read some studies about that.
So a unanimous Supreme Court decision in June last year changed the legal landscape, saying that high rates of opioid prescriptions are not a crime of good faith. Was as intended. The court and prosecutors must prove that a doctor intentionally prescribed the drugs without believing they were medically necessary. So that's the problem, is that they're hauling in these doctors for prescribing this stuff, okay? And so what they're saying here is the courts, the prosecutors must prove that a doctor intentionally prescribed the drugs without believing they were, in other words, just prescribed the drugs to give them to the patient. Okay? Because they're hauling these doctors in for doing these prescriptions. So now the rule is that instead of locking them up, the courts have to show proof that the doctors were just throwing these things into the wind for people. So that's a win for pain management. Okay, that's a win.
Yeah.
But the problem is hardly anybody. The doctors are so afraid they're not following this now.
The whole transition,
Right?
whole transition of it has gone markedly wrong.
Right. It's
not a smooth transition.
Now I was searching around, and there's some other stuff coming up here. Now, same article. The California Medical Board is working to rewrite its opioid prescribing guidelines this year. So in 2023, they're looking, or 2022, they're looking to rewrite these guidelines. Okay. Stanford's Dr. Mackey is a senior advisor of the new policy, which he said is more patient-centric and clinician-centric. It moves away from draconian, overly prescribed rules and puts the power back into the patient-physician relationship. The main message is the need to individualize and tailor opioid prescribing for the person you're caring for. See, there's doctors out there that are willing to do this. It's a matter of getting it out there, and I think it's advocates like Caren and I and these other advocates that are going to push that over the top, at these meetings. But Caren, that's exactly what Karen's talking about. They have to look at what the patient's needs are. Okay, and if the doctor knows the patient has to have them for quality of life, and that's what he or she is prescribing for, then they should be allowed to do that without being hindered by the feds. All right. And Medicare continues. Medicare and Medicaid in January implemented new billing codes for chronic pain that will allow doctors to spend more time with patients devising treatment plans. And again, the CDC revised its opioid prescribing guidelines late last year. The update seeks to support flexible, individualized pain management that improves patients' pain, function, and quality of life. Unfortunately, and that was written by a CDC spokesman, unfortunately, the doctors are still taking those guidelines literally. They're not taking them as being flexible, and that's what the problem is. And this is what they continue with. And this is the spokesman for CDC. The guidelines are not meant to be implemented as a one-size-fits-all policy, she said. Using dose limits in law would be a misapplication. So they're admitting that they made a mistake. The problem is now the doctors are so afraid, that they're going to get arrested that they just don't want to do it. It's unfortunate. Like Karen says, their hands are tied. You there?
A lot of, yeah.
With the DA.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm listening. Let's get a breath here.
So, California, and this is what's interesting that I found, and let's see, let me double check here because you guys can see my face. Hello, you all. I love seeing you. I love talking to you guys. It's great. I'm going to put Caren back up there. There we go. There's Caren. Okay. So the last part that I have to read to you guys, and this is what is interesting. Okay. California has a patient's Bill of Rights. It was done in the 1990s, and I found this. There's a woman that I'm trying to connect with here on Facebook, and she is an advocate, and she had written this down in an article on a newspaper website that covers this sort of thing. And this is what she did. There was an article. It was in comments. All right. These were signed into law in the 1990s in California and are still part of California's legal code. FYI, Dr. Forrest Tennant was the lead author of the Pain Patients Bill of Rights. Okay, California's existing laws, the Pain Patients Bill of Rights, and the Intraceable Pain Treatment Act on pages 26 to 17 in the Patient Bill of Rights. Here's an extract from the Patient's Bill of Rights. Nothing in this section shall be construed to alter any of the provisions set forth in section blah 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 of the Business and Professional Code. This section shall be known as the Pain Patient's Bill of Rights. And this is California law, okay? Let me make this a little bigger so I can read it without stirring. Okay. A. Appendix A. A patient who suffers from severe chronic intractable pain has the option to request or reject the use of any or all modalities in order to relieve his or her pain. Part 2. A patient who suffers from severe chronic intractable pain has the option to choose opioid medications to relieve that pain without first having to submit to an invasive medical procedure, which is defined as surgery, destruction of a nerve or other body tissue by manipulation, or the implantation of a drug delivery system or device, as long as the prescribing physician acts in conformance with the California Intractable Pain Treatment Act, Section 224 1.5 of the Business and Professional Code. Now, C. The patient's physician may refuse to prescribe opioid medication for the patient who requests a treatment for severe chronic pain. However, the physician shall inform the patient that there are physicians who treat pain and whose methods include the use of opiates. Okay?
That's not happening.
No, none of this is happening right now. Now, here's another one that's in that law. A physician who uses opioid therapy to relieve severe chronic intractable pain may prescribe a dosage deemed medically necessary. See that? Medically necessary to relieve the patient's pain, as long as that prescribing is in conformance with Section 2241-5 of the Business Professions Code. Okay? And here's an extract from that, Intractable Pain Treatment Act. Okay? That's 2241-5. A. A physician and surgeon may prescribe for, or dispense, or administer to a person under his or her treatment for medical condition, dangerous drugs or prescriptions, controlled substances for the treatment of pain, or a condition causing pain, including but not limited to intractable pain. B. No physician and surgeon shall be subject to disciplinary action for prescribing, dispensing, or administering dangerous drugs or prescription-controlled substances in accordance with this section. So there you have it.
Wow.
And that is California law. And I just find this so unbelievable that everything has gone as far as it has, like it is, because that is the law in California.
Yeah, and it's one thing to hear it, but when you live through it,
yeah,
yeah.
But I mean, when you talk to a physician, like the one, I'm not going to name names. I don't want to lose my pills either. Getting arguments with people.
Don't do that.
No, I'm trying to be nice with my physician as much as I possibly can. But when you talk to these doctors, they're so afraid. Like Caren says, their hands are tied. They're terrified of losing their licenses. And it's not right. It's just not right.
No.
But that really opened my eyes when I read the law right there, because I was like, well, they're not doing that. They stopped doing that a couple years ago, 3-4 years ago.
Are there any groups that you can links that you could put to the show?
I will do that because I'm just starting to find that stuff, and I'm starting to make connections, with people that are advocating for this stuff. So I'm going to start doing that. So this is what I wanted to talk to people about today, is that, like I said, after what happened last week at my appointment, I'm going to take you guys with me. And I don't know, if I can get my doctor to go on record or how that's going to work, but I want to take you guys with me and through my journey with all this. All right, I'm going to be very open. I'm supposed to get an MRI done. I'll tell you what the MRI results were. I'm going to be very open with you guys and honest about what's going on with my pain treatment. And so you guys will have the opportunity to follow me through this journey to see what the doctors are going to do in all this, and how I have to, the struggle that's real to get these pills, to get my medications and stuff.
We have to be open about talking about it.
Yes.
It is a hard subject to talk about it.
Yes.
And like I said, there's so much stigma with it that there is I'll be honest, there's a level of a kind of embarrassment.
Right. There is.
But intellectually, I know there shouldn't be. Rationally, I know there shouldn't be any embarrassment. But on the emotional level, sometimes You do feel that stigma.
Yes.
You do feel that.
Yes, you do.
What can I say? What can I not say?
Right. And that's the thing too, because a lot of people are afraid to go in.
Where do you get the support?
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid.
Where do we get the support at?
Right. And a lot of people are afraid. In fact, you go into the doctor's office, you're afraid to say anything because you think they're gonna cut you off right away.
Oh gosh, I can tell you stories.
Yeah, and it's a major issue. So I mean, yeah. So this is why I decided to do this, and I wanted to start. This is going to be a series of stuff following me through my pain stuff, and I'm also going to be interviewing, doctors, to get their opinions on all this, and I'm going to try and locate some people that are going through what Caren and I are going through, so you guys can hear all that. But I want to get a couple doctors. The doctor in Sacramento that's very vocal about, helping pain patients, and I'd like to get him on and talk with him. All right, so I'm going to start doing this, and I'm thinking I'm going to do it once. We'll start out once a month, doing a show like this, and we'll see where it goes. Where maybe it'll expand, and it'll be a Wednesday night like this, and maybe Caren and I can expand it out to maybe twice a month, as we get more information in, with different stuff. So this is just the beginning of my journey and your journey along with me, and hopefully we can make a difference. Hopefully we can get someone to listen.
Charlotte.
Yeah, hopefully we can get someone to listen.
Giving me a platform to tell my story.
Yeah. So hopefully we can do that. But that's it for tonight, guys. And it's a lot of food for thought, I know. But I didn't want to be like preachy either. I'm not here to be preachy. I'm just trying to tell, to let you guys know what's going on. The other thing that I found interesting in my research too was that, they've done all these studies on chronic pain, but they've never talked or studied the people that are long-term pain patients. They've never talked to them to see how it's reacting to them.
That's a whole different show, acute versus chronic pain.
Yeah. Acute, or what is it, addiction versus dependence. And they've never done a study on people like Caren and I that are long-term users. They've never done a study, and that's where they're wrong too, because according to the CDC and all these other doctors, the pain pills after a while don't do you any good. Your pain gets worse because you get used to it. But you know what? That's a misnomer. Okay, they do good. I'm a prime example of that. Caren was a prime example of that.
There's a lot of peer-reviewed literature studies that side with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just the changes are coming, but they're just slow. And like Caren says, if I give up my opioids at this point, if the changes come, are they going to give them back? Who knows?
No, I applaud you for that, Charlotte. I think that is really great if you can get people from different aspects talking about it.
Yeah. So So Caren is going to be my co-host when we do these things, and I'm going to start pulling people in for interviews and stuff to have a more rounded, interview forum here for this problem. And it's an issue.
Absolutely.
And like I said, if Caren and I can help even one person out there with this, or maybe help start getting the ball rolling and make it move faster in California than how it's moving, then that's a good thing. Okay, that being said, tomorrow I will have a pre-recorded show. I'm going to do a pre-record at 10 a.m. and it's with Gerard. Let's see, hang on a second. Give me my own writing. Gerard Atkinson, or Artisan, Gerard Artisan. And I don't know if you guys know who Adamski is, but Adamski was a gentleman in 1946 who saw a UFO, and I believe he got to the point after his abduction that he believed that a lot of our climate issues were due to UFOs and all kinds of stuff that had to do with the Earth, the way the Earth is put together and whatnot. Anyway, it's very controversial because a lot of the photos and stuff he took have been debunked, and so
what the problem is too, I think, is
yes,
it's almost like the old footage is more believable because of artificial intelligence and
right.
And all that going on now. You don't know what to believe when you see on social media.
Yeah, you don't. It's so hard.
It's hard to just, and how do they pixelize it, and how do professionals? That's a whole different topic.
Right. No, I mean that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow.
It's fascinating. Though.
So yeah, it is fascinating. So like I said, I'm going to pre-record this thing at 10 o'clock tomorrow, It'll be on. It'll be on YouTube tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific for you guys to watch. Okay, so that's something. That's something to look forward to. I want to thank Caren for coming on, and we're going to do this at least once a month now. I came armed this evening with all that stuff from the newspapers, and I'm going to come armed every time we do this. And like I said, I'm going to take you guys.
We still got to do our ghost stories.
Oh yeah, Caren and I are expanding over to TikTok. We have a lot going on, and so Caren's going to be out there with me over on TikTok, and oh my gosh, all kinds of fun stuff coming up. But I want to thank everybody for listening tonight, and I hope this reaches a larger audience. I really do, because I think it needs to be said. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a doctor. Karen's not a doctor. We're just trying to get the word out from our perspective, as being longtime pain management patients, because it's not a good situation for people.
I hope you can get some good doctors on.
Oh,
I bet you will.
Yeah, I think I will. I'm already putting the feelers out, so I'm starting to roll with that. So thank you very much. And I did quote, and I just want to make sure everybody to sit on air for sure. I did quote USA Today. I did quote San Francisco Chronicle. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about where I got my information from. So I don't want to get nailed for copyright or anything like that. So and it's going to be an interesting ride. And like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to record conversations with my doctors or how I'm going to do it yet at the doctor's office, but I want to be completely open, and I want to be able to, maybe I'll just keep a diary for you guys, for each time I come on, I can tell you what went down that day at the doctor's office and whatnot. Okay. So I'm still trying to work that out. I won't be back at the doctor until like the 12th of June. So it gives me some time to figure out how I'm going to do it, but I'm taking you guys with me through this journey. All right.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you so much.
Yes, no problem. And I want to thank Caren and I have known each other for years, and we're rolling right along. So, all right, that being said, I have a class I'm teaching on June 10th at 1 p.m. Pacific, and that is for protection class. And I taught a basic protection class a couple weeks ago, and if you guys are interested in that, because what I'm doing is that we're going to look at different stones and gems and the power they have to help you, and not only that, but different things that have power to help you, that have that you can put together yourself, like maybe a medicine bag or make yourself a necklace of something to help yourself. And it's going to be an interesting class. So if you're interested in that, check it out over at California Haunts Meetup at meetup.com and sign up. And I'm going to be like I said, I'm going to be teaching that class, and it's interesting. All right, and not just Native Americans can do medicine bags. There's a way to make a medicine bag that you can do yourself. Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna let it go with it. I hope I didn't make any Native Americans mad on that either. But I've been making medicine bags for myself for years, for protecting myself. For protection when I'm out ghost hunting. I've had a real.
All right, Cheryl. Thank you so much.
All right, Caren.
We'll talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make talisman, things you can put around your house for protection, things you can give your dogs, that your animals and all that stuff. So if you're interested, that sounds like something you want to do. And for people that can't make it to that 1 p.m. show, that 1 p.m. Class, I can arrange another time to teach you as well. So it's not a big deal. Okay, visit meetup.com for that. I'd really appreciate it. All right, if you liked the show today, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. We're equal opportunity here at California Haunts Radio. We're just trying to get the word out about the show. And just like I said earlier, if you're watching from Facebook and you haven't done so yet and you like what you hear, please be sure to hit that share button. Or if you're on YouTube and you're watching, check out our videos over there, and please be sure to subscribe, because we got all kinds of videos over there. Just like this is a perfect example. I'm a journalist, photojournalist. I don't like to always do paranormal stuff, so I will mix it up from time to time with shows like this and other types of stuff. Okay, that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. I will be live on chat. I will not be like live, but I will be on the chat. So have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow.